Hey, the most I about to do is thing. The sky gon' fall when he's in it. Blood of Christ in my veins, ain't no vaccine in it. They amazed at the chariots we rarely seen in them. Please repent before that movie go black screen with it. Most I don't wanna destroy his truth be told, but we trippin' these them days. He gon' prophesy and speak deep wisdom. Live by codes of the Bible, cause my goal is the kingdom. Know the codes of your area, like 3 digits. See my foes are inferior. I defeat simple, my Shia is superior. If you believe in him, I'ma signal he my carrier. I won't be leaving him. If he slide, I'ma slide. Why? I agree in him. Silly rapper, disrespecting God. Can't wait till he in him. Selling out for the devil's pot. That's that greed in them. Yeah, they fly, but them guys dying in the beast system. Worship God, not the sci-fi. I don't believe in it. Yeah, yeah. I gave my all to the most. I told him he can have it. Yeah, yeah. Gave my heart to the most. I told him he can have it. Ooh.
Shalawam, shalawam, shalawam. With a beautiful song, he gave his heart to the Most High and told him, you can have it. Let's give all praises be to the Most High Yahweh, Allah, the Allah of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Allah of Israel. This is who we send our prayers up to. And our King, Hamashiach Yahushai, his only begotten Son. Once again, Shalawam to all the Ahchs and Ahchwaths out there in the world. The water for clicking on this and hearing this message. For those who don't know what the water means, that actually means thank you in English. So today I have a good one here. And as always, we're going to dive right into it. This one is called Adam and Eve Attempted Suicide. Adam and Eve Attempted Suicide. Oh, before I forget, don't forget to like, comment, share. Like, comment, and share. So with that being said, we're going to dive right into it. As you can see on the screen, I'm going to start off in 2nd Ezra. But I wanted to bring this out because, there's some things that's out there that are written in books that give a more depth breakdown and understanding of why some of our people deal with a lot of depression and why they don't like being in this present world that we in. It's not something new. This is something that's been here since the beginning of time. So the reason I'm going to start in Ezra is because Ezra kind of alludes to it. And as we go into Adam and Eve, we will see what Ezra pretty much is talking about. So I'm in 2nd Ezra chapter 7. And blow it up a little more right there. I'm going to start at verse 10. Once again, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 7, starting at verse 10. And it says, And I said, It is so, master. Then said he unto me, Even so also is Israel portion. So the Malak and Ezra are having a conversation. This is what's going on. So he's telling that even so also is Israel portion, because for their sakes I made the world. So the reason the world was made was for Israel's sake. And when Adam transgressed my statute, then was decreed that now is done. So this is why I'm bringing this out, because when Adam transgressed his statute, the world that we live in today and have an understanding of today, this is what was decreed, right? When Adam transgressed, when Adam sinned in the garden, right? Verse 12, Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. They are but few and evil, full of pearls or pearlous, and very painful. For the entrance of the elder world were wide and sure, and brought immortal fruit. If then they that live labor not to enter these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. So if you haven't read 2nd Ezra chapter 7, please go back and read it. But basically, this is Ezra asking, what about the people that sin? How are we going to get the gift that's after death? which is the eternal life or the kingdom, right? So the Malak is basically saying, if they that live, right, labor not to enter these straight things and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. So verse 15 says, now therefore, why disquiet thyself, seeing that thou art but a corruptible man? And why art thou moved, whereas thou art but mortal? Why hast thou not considered in thy mind this thing that is to come? So why don't a lot of people in the world that we live in today consider this, what's going to happen after death? We just live life, and we don't really. I do, but I don't know if you do. A lot of people don't consider what's going to happen after death. They just live their life and don't kind of worry about it, right? Rather than that which is present. Then answered I and said, O Yahweh, that bearest rule, and that has ordained in thy law that the righteous should inherit these things. Remember, the righteous will inherit the earth, right? So this is what he's talking about, that the righteous will inherit these things, but that the ungodly shall perish. See, this is what he's talking about with the Malak. Nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things and hope for wide, for they have done wickedly. Salakia. For they that have done wickedly have suffered the straight things, and yet shall not see the wide. And he said unto me, there is no judge above Elohim, and none that have understanding above the highest. Right? So nobody has a better understanding than the Elohim, or the Most High. Right? Nobody has the understanding that he has, and nobody judges like he judges. But we know he gave judgment to his son and understanding to his son, because he holds the seven spirits of the Most High. And so nobody has an understanding that he can understand, right? Verse 20, for there be many that perish in this life, right? Many people are going to go into the lake of fire, right? Because they didn't live. They didn't live correct. They didn't live by his law. Here it is right here. Because they despise the law of Elohim that is set before them. So there be many that perish in this life because they despise. When you despise something, mean you have a hatred for it. They hated the law of the Most High that is set before them. Everybody always saying in the Christian church, atheists, that the law is done away with. We don't need it. Blah, 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 right? Verse 21. For Elohim have given straight commandment to such as came what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. So this is why we have the commandments that we have, right? That was given to us. If you want to live, as he say, follow my commandments, right? If you love me, follow my commandments, right? Let's get that. Let me pull that real quick in the blue letter. Let me pull that. Right? If you love me, right here, in the book of John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments, right? This is what he's saying. Yahweh Shai, if you love me, keep my commandments, right? And it says so many other times, right? First John 5:3. For this is the love of Elohim, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. For whosoever is born of Elohim overcometh the world, meaning you overcome the sin of this world. And this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith, right? Who is he that overcometh the world, but he that believeth that Yahweh Shah is the son of Elohim, right? So this is what Ezra is basically saying the same thing too, right? The Malak is telling Ezra the same thing. For they be many that perish in this life because they despise the law of Elohim that is set before them. For Elohim has given straight commandment to such as Cain, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment, right? Nevertheless, they were not what? Obedient. They were not obedient unto him, right? Meaning they were in lawlessness, unrighteousness, right? We see this all throughout the Bible. Where do we see it? Let's get this real quick. Let's go back to the, let me see. Let me see. Second Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 11. And for this cause Elohim should send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be what? Damned, who believe not the what? Truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. Unrighteousness is what? It's the opposite of righteousness, right? But we're bound to give thanks. But we are bound. That's going into something else. But right here is what I want to focus on, the unrighteousness. Let's see what righteousness is. Let's see. Right. Silaki about that. Let's get righteousness. Right. Deuteronomy 6:25, right? Righteousness. It shall be our righteousness. This is what we're talking about. Our righteousness, if we observe to do all what? These commandments before Yahweh Elohim, as he have commanded us. This is what righteousness is. Deuteronomy 6:25 is what? To keep the commandments. That's what righteousness is, right? So when you see something right here is Second Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 12, and it says they have had pleasure in unrighteousness. They wasn't keeping the commandments, right? So this is what Ezra is talking about. That nevertheless, in 22 verse 22 it says, nevertheless they were not obedient unto him, but spake against him and imagined vain things, right? That's why the Bible, it speaks about the same thing over and over, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, by their what? Unrighteousness. The same thing in Second Thessalonians is saying, right? That they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. Second Thessalonians is saying the same thing as Ezra is saying right here, right? And deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High that he is not, and knew not his ways, right? Nevertheless, they were not obedient to him, and spake against him, and imagined vain things. It's the same thing. The same exact thing. Verse 24, but his law have they despised, and denied his covenants. In his statutes have they not been what? Faithful. They were unfaithful to what? The law. And have not performed what? His works. What are his works? His commandments. And it says, and therefore, Ezra, for the empty are empty things, and for the full are full things. So you can't be mad, right? You can't be mad. Some people are empty and some people are full. You know? I'm going to jump down to verse 56. Because this is what we're talking about, you know, righteousness, the law, unrighteousness. Because it's the same thing Adam and Eve went through, right? Remember, we're talking about Adam and Eve attempted suicide, but why? So we're going to see. For while we lived and committed iniquity, which is sin, we consider not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. So this is why I was saying we need to start thinking about what's going to happen to us after death. Because we all have committed sin from when we were born to where we at now. This is why we have a place of repentance and we live in grace. But don't take his grace for, just don't take it for what it is. It's grace. Give you time to repent and ask for forgiveness, but don't trot over it. Don't walk over his grace. Verse 57. Then answered he me and said, this is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight, that if he be overcome, he shall suffer as thou hast said. But if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say. Verse 59. For this is the life whereof Moses spake unto the people while he lived. So Moses was saying the same thing back then, just like we saying right now, all the way from Adam to now. Moses spake the same thing unto the people while he lived, saying, choose thee life, that thou mayest live. Nevertheless, they believed not him, so they didn't believe Moses, nor yet the prophets after him, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Nahum, Habakkuk, all of the people, right? Samuel, who else? Joshua they turned on. I mean, no, nor me which is spoken unto them, that there should not be such heaviness in their destruction as shall be joy over them that are persuaded to salvation. For those that are persuaded to salvation, who keep the law, statute, and commandments to their best abilities, who are serving the Most High to the best of their abilities, right? Who has given their life to the Most High to the best of their abilities. That's why I played that song in the beginning where he said, I have given my heart to the Most High, right? Which was a beautiful song. So I'm going to stop right there. We're just going to dive into the book of Adam and Eve now. I'm going to be in chapter 21. This is the first book of Adam and Eve, chapter 21. If you have not read the book of Adam and Eve, I would tell you to please go and get you a copy and actually read it. It is very eye-opening, and I believe that you will get a greater understanding in depth of things that transpired not only in the garden, but after they would put out the garden, right? So I'm going to start right here in 21, and this is going to give us some understanding on their attempt of suicide. This is first Adam and Eve, chapter 21, verse 1. Then Adam and Eve went in search of the garden, because this is after they're out of the garden now. And the heat beat like a flame on their faces, and they sweated from the heat and cried before Yahweh. But the place where they cried was close to a high mountain. But the place where they cried was close to a high mountain facing the western gate of the garden. And Adam threw himself down from the top of that mountain, and his face was torn and his flesh was ripped. He lost a lot of blood and was close to death, right? Meanwhile, Eve remained standing on the mountain crying over him, thus lying, and she said, I don't wish to live after him, for all that he did to himself was through me. Then she threw herself after him and was torn and ripped by the stones and remained lying as dead. But the merciful Elohim, who looks over his creatures, looked at Adam and Eve as they lay dead. And he sent his word. We know the word is Yahushai, right? We know the word is Yahushai. And raised them and said to Adam, O Adam, all this misery which you have brought on yourself will have no effect against my rule, neither will it alter the covenant of the 5,500 years, right? Neither will it alter the covenant for the 5,500 years. And this is the first book of Adam and Eve, and we're going to read chapter 22, verses 1. Then Adam said to Elohim, I dry up in the heat. I am faint from walking, and I don't want to be in this world. See, even Adam didn't want to be here on this earth, right? He didn't want to be here on this earth. He said, I don't want to be in this world, and I don't know when you will take me out of it to rest. Then Yahweh Elohim said unto him, O Adam, it cannot be now, not until you have ended your days. Then I shall bring you out of this miserable land. So, as we can see, miserable land, talking about the earth that we live in now, right? And Adam said to Elohim, while I was in the what? Garden, I knew neither heat nor languor, neither moving about, nor trembling, nor fear. But now since I came to this land, all this affliction has come over me. Verse 4. Then Elohim said to Adam, so long as you were what? Keeping my commandments, right? Long as you were keeping my commandment, my light and my grace rested on you. See, same thing, even here, all the way back to Adam. As long as you were keeping, remember we was in 2 Thessalonians, look, the unrighteousness, they have pleasure in unrighteousness, right? What is righteousness? Deuteronomy 6:25, the righteousness is thy law, right? The commandment. So it's in the same thing right here. In 1 Adam 22:4, then Elohim said to Adam, so as long as you were keeping my commandment, my light and my grace rested on you. But when you transgress my commandment, sorrow, right? Let's get it. Sorrow and misery came to you in this land. Did not 2nd Ezra say the same thing? Right? Sorrow and misery in 2nd Ezra. Wasn't Moses telling people to choose life? Right? That if he be overcome, he shall suffer thou hast said. It's the same thing. Sorrow and misery came to us in this land. Verse 5. And Adam cried and said, O Yahweh, do not cut me off for this. So he's saying, don't cut me off for this. Neither punish me with this heavy plagues, nor yet repay me according to my sin. For we of our own will transgressed your commandment and ignored your law. See, he ignored the Most High law, right? And tried, listen to this, and tried to become Elohims like you. When Hasatan, the enemy, deceived us, the serpent, it deceived them, right? We know this in Genesis. This is what he said. Let's get it. Let's get it real quick, and then we'll move on. Genesis. Let's get that so we can coincide that. The serpent, right? Here it is in the field. Let's see where he told Eve. Let me see. That you will be like the Most High. Here it is, verse 5, I think. For Elohim doeth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as Elohims, knowing good and evil. That's what it's saying right here. Huh? They broke his commandment and ignored the law and tried to become Elohim like you. This is what it's talking about right here in Genesis 3. Same thing, coincide right here, right? The serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For Elohim doeth know. So this is the serpent speaking. That in the day that ye eat thereof, that your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as Elohim's, knowing good and evil. Right? And then it says down here, and the woman saw that the tree was good for the food, and it was pleasant to the eyes. And we know she took of the fruit, right? Because what? She wanted to be like Elohim. It's the same thing Adam is saying right here in the book of Adam and Eve. But he's saying Hasatan deceived them. We know they were deceived, right? Verse 6 in chapter 22, Salakia. Then Elohim said to Adam, because you have endured fear and trembling in this land, languor and suffering, treading and walking about, going on this mountain and dying from it, I will take all this on myself in order to save you. Right? So who is this talking about? This is like the first time it's really talking about the Messiah, that he's going to take all this pain and suffering, which we know that we get from, let's get it. Man, the computer work is slow today. The suffering servant, right? Who have believed our report, to whom is the arm of Yahweh revealed. For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root of a dry ground. He have no form, no comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire. He is despised and rejected of man, a man of what? Sorrows. What? And acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him, as we despise, and we esteemed him not. Surely he have, here it is, surely he have what? Borne our griefs. That's what he's saying right here. That's exactly what he's saying right here. Right here. All this, I will take it on myself to save you. Same thing. Surely he had borne our griefs and carried our what? Sorrows. Yet we did esteem him and stricken him and smite him. Salakia, and stricken and smitten him of Elohim and afflicted. But he was wounded for what? Our transgressions. Right? For our transgressions. It's the same thing he's saying right here in the book of Adam and Eve, chapter 22, verse 6, right? So understand that Adam and Eve, they felt the same way about this world. Because if we go back up to verse 1, as he said, I don't want to be in this world. This is what he said. This is what Adam was saying, Salakia. This is what Adam was saying. I don't want to be in this world. And I don't know when you will take me out of it to rest. Right? Even right here in verse 2. What does it say? Miserable land. Then shall I bring you out of this miserable land. So all I'm trying to show you here is that we totally see that Adam and Eve didn't want to be in this land. They attempted suicide. Not only attempted, they did commit suicide. And we see that they killed themselves, but the Most High brought them back to life because they could not, he needed them to endure. So, as he says right here, he had made a covenant, just like he made a promise to Abraham, right? Neither will it alter my covenant of the 5,500 years. So he couldn't just leave them dead because, he had made a covenant with them. And of course, as he said in 2nd Ezra, he made the world's sake. He made the world for Israel's sake. So this was all predestined, right? This is all predestined. But anyway, I'm going to let you go. I hope this is edifying to someone out there maybe dealing with depression, dealing with suicide, that is a believer, to know that your forefather Adam, Eve, and probably other ones have dealt with this same feeling that they didn't want to be in this world. They actually committed suicide, but were brought back because they had to deal with this life that they sinned and put themselves in this position the same way we did. So, don't take it to heart. Know that our ancestors went through the same thing, but we have to fight through and we have to endure to the end like we're told. And this is why we're told to put our trust in the Most High and give everything to the Most High and His Son. And I hope, like I say, this helps someone out there dealing with depression or suicide to lean back and know that, you're not the first nor the last. And it came all the way from the beginning, from Adam and Eve, that they didn't want to be here either. But just endure to the end and put your trust in the Most High, Yahweh, and His Son, our King, Hamashiach Yahushai. And once again, like I said, I hope this is edifying. And we love you out there if you are dealing with this, wicked demon that's came upon us. We love you out there. So with that, we're going to get out of here and I say Shalawam.
Gave my art to the most, I told him he can have it, yeah.